Welcome to the Traders Show. This show is brought to you by Pepperstone. Pepperstone is an award-winning online global forex and CFD broker. It offers unparalleled service, exceptional pricing, and fast execution speed. Pepperstone gives you access into the global markets with more trading opportunities, first-class customer service, and peace of mind. Withdrawals are quick, and for those in Kenya, M-Pesa is enabled. Pepperstone Markets is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. To open an account with Pepperstone, you can click the links on the descriptions below. Hello traders, welcome back to another episode of the Traders Show. This is episode 7, season 2, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic in line with what is going on in the world. So over the last few days, I think 8 days to be precisely, we've seen Russia attack Ukraine. So there is a lot of geopolitical tension going on with countries now taking sides, some people merging and getting united, others not delivering their stance like China. And we thought it was wise for us to look at what has happened historically in line with what is currently happening. Because as much as we may try to avoid the point, I think history tends to repeat itself, or rather history will rhyme. So there will be some similarities in what is currently going on to what has happened in the past. And we're going to talk about geopolitical tensions and how they affect markets. It's not only military wars which are currently going on, the economic wars, so the sanctions, how will they affect markets? And we're going to shed some light on some of those things, and we hope you'll enjoy and learn from the topic. My name's Akian. Alongside me, I'm joined by two of my colleagues who will introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into the topic.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're all well. Welcome to our podcast here again. So, as Ken said, we'll talk about a few geopolitical things, what we understand about war. I think Taras has some content on history, how things have been happening, but we'll share what we know so far. In last week's podcast, we also tried to touch a bit just our own opinions on what we think about the war in Ukraine and all that. It's very interesting to watch this. As I said last week, it's things we've been reading, things we've been looking at history, but now we're seeing it live, okay, and how it's affecting the market. We're right in the middle of it and also participating in terms of how we react in the market. So it's an interesting topic. We'll cover what we know, and from there, I'm sure also you guys will learn a thing or two. So that's it from me.
Hello traders. My name is Taras. We are in a very interesting time in the war, in history, and for sure we can't move away from this topic again. So last week we had an intro into what is going on geopolitically in the world, and over this that day, actually the day we were shooting it was, I think, the first day of the war. Yeah. The first day they invaded Ukraine.
The first day?
Yeah, it was day one. That was the day the market was up. Oil was up, I think, 10%.
Okay.
The day Moex also went down about 20%. So it's been almost a week now, and I think we're just here to give you updates on what has been going on in markets. Basically, our research on history, because during these times, a good thing with markets is you move with the markets and you research more about like how historically the events happening right now, the events in history similar like this have affected markets. So like if you look at 2020, we were focusing on how pandemics affect markets. This year, war is here and it's escalating really fast. Many people are thinking the war will escalate to a point whereby actually not many people are thinking the US is already thinking of sending troops. So they started by sending military aid that was just weapons and stuff. Then sanctions came in. Now they are planning on sending their own men. So that will, if they now send their own men, I think that will escalate the war even more, because now that starts becoming a world war. Basically, other countries are coming in physically to help Ukraine. So I think we're at a very interesting part in history. A lot of uncertainties also according to how markets will react. Markets are very uncertain places, but during such times the uncertainty doubles. So we literally don't know how markets will react in the long term. But we have some ideas which we will share with you, how we've seen markets reacting over the past week, and some reasons to those moves. We've seen oil. Last week, oil had a 10% move, crashed and wiped out all the gains again the following day. Then this week again, it's up until I think 115, Ken. 115, 116 right now. So oil is becoming very, very expensive in the market. Actually, just the whole commodity market is becoming very, very expensive. Today I was watching wheat, corn, soybeans markets are commodities markets are skyrocketing. So we're going to talk about the events happening in markets, the historically what how war has affected markets, and basically also our stories too on how we are trying to cope up with the current market environment in terms of our own trading. So I think that is it. You can start off.
Okay, so I think for us to just start off, I was thinking we should just start with the military war that is currently going on. So what is currently going on between Russia and Ukraine? Over the last 100 years or something, we've seen World War I, we saw World War II, and we've also seen some minor wars between that time period. For example, in 2014, we had again Russia with Ukraine. Again, there was a scuffle between the two, and that led to some impacts in the market. But when there's a war, obviously, wars don't end up like most people think. I think that's one thing that I've learned from looking at history. There's a lot that changes when you're going into war, and your plan, what you currently prepared for, could end up easily taking you to places where you never thought. For example, what is currently going on between Ukraine and Russia, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know how long it will take, or even in a few weeks, a few months, history will tell us whether what is happening is what was planned by Russia or things never turned out the way they expected. Because if you listen to many military generals, brigadiers, especially those ones who have retired, most of them think what is currently happening is not what Russia had planned. The idea was to divide the world, but it's clearly not really working, because as much as we don't have a clear picture on some nations, what they think about the war, for example, China, other nations, I think over 100 countries now, are at least united, and they are all condemning what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, right? But first, let's go back a little bit and try and think about, first of all, why is the war happening, which we did some time back. But just before we go on, why is the war happening and what are the impacts of the war? For example, right now, Russia has so many sanctions. The ruble has collapsed. Ruble.
Russian ruble.
Exactly, whatever you'll call it. The Russian currency is down significantly. I think it's traded at the lowest it's ever traded in the history of currencies. And there's some speculation that they could move.
It's less than 1 cent of a dollar.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had not even thought about the relative value to the other currencies.
I think it's crashed more than 90% right
so
now.
It's significantly lower.
Down.
90.
Yeah.
As in since the war, what?
No,
Yeah.
In I think it was in London trading yesterday, it was down around 90%.
90.
Yeah. Because there are also banks in Russian banks which have been trading in the London Stock Exchange, which are down 95%, 90%. 90.
That is why...
that is the magnitude.
I left it like at around 30, 40.
And what I'm wondering is, the ruble is moving, yes, but you can't trade it.
Yeah, you can't trade it.
I think you can only trade it the interbanks. I don't know. I feel like that's...
interbanks.
Yeah. So it's not really tradable by retailers. Retailers can't really... I think you can't speculate on it, but banks can...
I don't understand what you mean by 90. 90?
It's 90% relative to the dollar or what?
Yeah, what do you mean 90?
Yeah, I think relative to the dollar, Basi. What
90%?
Is it from...
You know what 90% is?
But anyway, without looking at, that magnitude of that, but obviously
if
it's
you
lower.
look at like a monthly, you can see like last month it was down 35%. This month it's already down about, let's say 12%. So almost 50% down. Yeah,
Okay.
the past 2 months.
But I was reading somewhere it was down more than 90%.
Okay.
Okay.
So looking at that currency now, what is happening? So there's some speculation that they could move into using the Chinese yuan. If you look
Serious?
at...
Don't use Chinese.
They could. I'm not sure. If China agrees to help them, they could start using Chinese yuan and ditch the Russian ruble. Because if you look at history, for example, during World War I, there's the Weimar Republic, which is Germany, and they were using Deutschmarks. But Deutschmarks collapsed when we had hyperinflation after World War I, and that resulted into them now moving from using Deutschmarks to another currency. Was it Deutschmarks or before Deutschmarks there was another currency? One of the two.
Yeah.
So during wars, some of these things happen, and the economic impact of some of these things is terrible.
Yeah.
For example, like we were joking, in Ukraine right now, obviously they're going into a deep recession because there's no economic activity going on. In fact, it's just destruction. So you can imagine what will come out of that. Yeah. So I think that's where we can start off.
Okay. The current war.
Yeah.
Okay, for me in the current war, mostly I've been focused on. I don't think there have been much more. I don't think they've invaded Kyiv yet. They've not invaded like fully. Of course, they are trying some miles away from it. So in terms of the invasion, it has not escalated that much.
Yeah.
That is why I think, apart from the Eastern markets, the MOEX and stuff, most markets have actually not reacted so much.
Yeah.
If you look at the Dow, if you look at the S&P 500, actually I think the S&P 500 is higher than where it was last week before the invasion. So the US stock markets are still stabilizing on the war because I think the invasion, they invaded Ukraine, yes, the soldiers are in Ukraine, but there are bombings, there is death. I think more than 5,000 people are dying. But stock markets are still stabilizing. And I was today researching on how do markets affect war, and actually it's a very, very complicated issue. And most traders, I think, right now can be trapped in the wrong sides of the markets. Like trying to speculate on war is difficult.
Very difficult.
Because I think wars have tended to have a like counter to what people expect in the markets. People expect markets to crash during wars, but markets have actually stabilized enough during wars. And I think I'll read for you some historical perspectives on how markets have worked.
What I want to hear.
Okay, I think I'm going. Let me go into that. Just since let's say World War
see
I,
how
World War II.
It stabilizes.
Yeah. So most traders right now, I think, can be heavily short, but they forget how markets work. And Ken, you were seeing that Dow move since 1895. You remember?
Yeah.
Crashes, but they always come back. From any recession or any depression they go to. So most people right now can be thinking, like it's time to profit from this. Yes, you can get some moves, but still, if you're not a seasoned investor, if you don't know where to come out, you might still miss the moves. So the main point is still when you're trying to trade on these moves, because I've been getting friends telling me, should you be selling these stocks? How can I sell the Russian stocks and stuff? You need to be very, very aware also of how markets can easily come back. So like looking at history, and this is a site called Fortune. So Fortune, it said, let me just go to the World Wars. So World War I, the Dow fell more than 30%, and the markets were closed for 6 months. When they reopened, the Dow rose more than 88% in 1915. You see?
Did they say how long, like time frame for the 88%?
Like when it opened after 6 months.
Like that day to immediately to interpret it.
Okay, I don't think that day.
Yeah, that's okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. From the start of World War in 1914 until 1918, Dow gained an overall 43%.
During the whole war?
During the whole war, 1914 to 1918, it gained 43%.
Was US in the war at that time?
They came in around 1917 as it ended.
The US are always the last people to join our war.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of a reason why their stock will be growing?
Yeah, because if you look at like right now, why markets are zigging up is the sanctions that have been placed on China don't have much impact on other economies. On Russia, I mean, don't have much impact on other economies.
Apart from things like oil.
Apart from
oil,
yeah,
But economy is like
the US, the European economies. Some of those countries will not be hugely affected, especially if the war does not.
And others may benefit.
Others
in terms
may
of,
benefit
like,
actually.
Because Russia and some sanctions, they can't maybe export some things to some countries. So of course some countries will look for those things in other countries.
That's a very good
benefiting
point.
other countries.
Exactly. So you may find
So
that
that's
those
why
loopholes being filled by other companies now.
Because as you continue, you're continuing just now. Because I'd like to know also in terms of that's US. I'd like to know also Germany how it was performing. Because that time Germany was in that war, yeah.
Yeah.
How them they were performing at that time. Because I
Germany
think
during that time they had hyperinflation.
during the war itself.
During the war, after World War I.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends with the market we're looking at.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true,
Okay.
true, true.
But just finish your.
Okay. World War II. The Dow increased 10% on the first day of trading after Hitler invaded Poland in 1939. And I think that is exactly what you're trying to say. Will certain markets like you see when, like, let's say during COVID, all stock markets were down.
Yeah.
See?
There was no divergence.
Yeah,
All
all stock
stock
markets were
markets
down.
worldwide.
Yeah. During wars, I think now it is it now the geographical location first which will suffer first? Because also me, I believe not that the Dow won't tank. The more extreme answer. Like they are the spark. With time, the Dow will also follow through because of also we know the economic cycle coming up. So, but at this point, you see the Dow increased 10% on the first day of Hitler invading Poland. That is 1939. So stocks gains in the US. As you're saying, maybe it's because is money moving now to the US because it's safer. So maybe that's another reason. So you can be trying to short Dow right now, and guys are stocking into the Dow. More person atoka Moex. Yeah. When the attack on Pearl Harbor occurred, stocks fell 2%, but regained those losses
Serious?
in 1 month.
It only fell 2%.
Yeah. From 1939 until the end of the war in late 1949, the Dow increased 50%, more than 7% per year. That is now World War II, which now the US were at least more active in the World War II. Cuban Missile Crisis.
While 66.
62.
62, okay.
While many feared events in 1962 would lead to World War III, investors were rather zen. During the 13-day confrontation, the Dow just lost 1.2% and gained 10% during the remainder of the year. 9/11. Stocks tumbled nearly 15% in a matter of days.
15%.
Following the terrorist attack.
They never closed the exchange? They did after some time.
Yeah. I think only that day Indoor closed.
Okay.
Yeah, but within months, the market had regained those losses. So that was 9/11. Iraq War. Stocks jumped 2.3% when the US invaded Iraq in 2003. The markets were up 30% by the end of the year. Yeah, I think those are the wars in this article. Yeah, so you can see it's counter to what most of us were expecting. You see, but also for me, I tend to believe it also depends on the market cycles we are at. Like things just don't replicate themselves. Like they can be similar but not a replica. You see, maybe those wars were being started when the markets were down. Right now, markets are at the highest levels they've ever been.
And that's a very, very important point, what you've just said.
Exactly. Yeah. The highest levels market have ever been. If you look at something like, was it, I think, NASDAQ or S&P? It closed 10% down since its top, I think for last month. Or, yeah, somewhere last month. So if you look at markets which now trying to
last month
to top, like 10%.
But even Dow is down what?
Yeah, even down.
About 15%.
Yeah, exactly.
Down
So
now.
markets now are trying.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
And that thing was topped at 37. If it just loses 3,700 points, it's down 10%. And now it's at 33,000. Or it rather bottomed around there.
Exactly. So like markets already trying to signal direction even before the war. See, so like the war coming in can be
A
another
huge
spark.
catalyst.
Yeah, exactly. This is March. We know how many interest rates are on the table this month. Australia, Canada, and States.
But don't you think those hikes are already priced in?
Yes, they are priced in, but now they
For what? Interest rates?
Yeah.
But now I think it's still like the move is still not like imeanza too.
The move down.
I don't think the whole move is priced in for me.
Okay,
There's
the whole
there's
move obviously
there's
is
a
not
very,
priced
very big
in.
move to come just based on interest rate rising. Exactly. So the Fed are at a very, very critical point because now for them also, their main goal, if you remember the dual mandate of the Fed, is to control inflation and to control unemployment. You see?
Yep.
Their main goal is not to control wars. And so for them, will they stick to their mandate whereby inflation is skyrocketing and they have to control it? So they have to raise rates amid a war. So you see, those questions are now which you ask yourself, like at the current market environment, will it be similar to how other wars have affected markets? This will also be a new era in markets, whereby there was a war when markets were at a very, very high valuations. So that is, I think, for me, the question I'm asking myself. Like, first of all, will the central banks raise rates?
Yes.
When is their talk by then?
16th March.
16th, I think 16th for US.
But if you listen to what Powell was saying yesterday,
Yeah.
he clearly said that they'll still go on with the rate hikes. For them, they don't believe. Currently, I also think that the war is very, very unpredictable. I don't know if it will get out of the Russia-Ukraine territory. I don't know if other countries will get involved. But at least what we're certain, at least up to now, is we have not affected any other economy, and the other places are not really affected. So for the Feds now, their focus is on inflation. They won't focus on war unless the war becomes threatening. So I think, for me, I still think they'll go on with the rate hikes. But the next few weeks, what develops could change that course. And I think that is what is really happening in the markets. If you look at markets right now, they are so undirectional. It's very, very hard to say, okay, yes, there's the outlook that markets are going down. I also share the same outlook. But I believe there'll be very many rallies within that downward move. You won't just see a straight leg like we saw in COVID.
The challenge of timing markets.
Exactly.
It's always a problem.
It's always a
Markets.
challenge.
You can know we are going down.
But how to
Timing.
make money now
Timing
on
it.
that downward move? And that's why people like Buffett always say, you can't time it.
Exactly. Like, we all knew oil will get to 100. When it was at 20,
Yeah.
we all knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All knew. But people who made
Making money.
Very few. So
negligible.
it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge for you to like, no, this is where the market's okay. You can always, because I like telling Caleb that the Mr. Partridge who used to tell Livermore, this is a bull market. This is a bear market. Like right now, I think this is a bear market. How fast it will be, I don't know. How many rallies we'll have, I don't know. When will bottom, I don't know. The factors that will make it bottom, I don't know. But at least I can tell from the factors that are going on, we are going to a rate hike. Inflation is very, very high in the midst of our war. I don't see any bullish factor, honestly, for this market to rise.
For this current
There's no bullish factor for prices to rise. But markets are still rising. You'll see a move to 33, then you'll see a rebound. I think those rallies will always be there.
Yeah, of
But
course.
the overall direction of the market over the next few weeks, few months, I think, is to the downside, especially as the war is developing. Yeah.
Because as we came into this year, most investors were pegged on that markets going down
Yeah.
without even the factor of the war.
Yeah.
You see, now the war is there just as a catalyst.
That's a good catalyst.
Exactly. So like most investors walikuwa wanajua to
And
if
it
now
fell, yeah.
raise rates rates are risen by the Feds. Market ime consolidate at the top for almost 5 months now. I think since
Like which market? The Dow?
the Dow, I think
Yeah, it
most
reached a
likely the
point.
Dow.
It wasn't creating strong highs.
Strong highs
It was-
again.
It's showing some weakness.
Yeah, some weakness exactly. Trying to break that topping. So if you break that topping, most likely the direction is clear. But as Ken is saying, if making money from it will be difficult because one, the volatility is very high.
Very high.
So most investors
Very high.
don't have even enough money to hold during these volatilities. Your $1,000 can be wiped out so easily in such markets. So most people who will actually make money and who have actually just been making money in the markets are the seasoned investors. People who know to structure portfolios well. People who know how to move portfolios. Like right now, if you're having your portfolios in Europe, it's difficult for you to make money. You see, maybe you can now move your money to China, maybe, or US. You see, so for most people who don't understand how to move money as risks develop in areas, I think we all like agree with that. Like only the people who know how markets work will be the only one who will even benefit from this war. Because I was also talking to my friends yesterday, and she was telling me, so Taras, you traders, like the world is in a crisis, but you guys are making money. Like, don't you feel like your business is how do I put it? Yeah, like sort of unethical. Like you guys are making a lot of money, making a bank, but other people
taking
are suffering.
advantage of the war.
Exactly. And I didn't have a solid answer to that because for me, I'm trading prices and markets, depending on I don't care like what is actually my trade.
But I don't think it's really unethical. I think the one who's unethical is the one who's causing the crisis. Like, for you, you're just benefiting out of it. Like, you didn't really
And if you
call
had billions,
for it
that's why the people were against him. Like he made a killing.
Yeah.
during such times. Even in the
During the
2008
9/11.
crisis, many people were against the big banks, the Goldman Sachs, those people who got those shots.
People will come after them.
Exactly.
People will be against them. They don't agree.
Guys are now homeless. And you,
Yeah, and
But
you
I
are
feel
there.
like that's
Also,
okay.
also may I agree with you. Let me said it's the same way.
it's-
Like I was with another friend of mine also. She was saying she doesn't believe in capitalism. Her only reason for that is because the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. Okay, so to her it's unethical. That's why she doesn't like it. But me, I told her, I can't go against that. I'm so. It's so hard. Like you were saying in the podcast with what's her name, one guy. It's hard to level the playing field. Okay,
Yes,
It's
nice stuff
extremely
agenda
hard.
size.
It's
Even
extremely
in the
hard to
Bible,
level.
since King Solomon. See, we've read the book by the richest man in Babylon. Anasemanga, you can't complain you're poor. Do what the rich do.
Exactly.
You see, like hiyo stuff si ati imeanza saizi ati sasa ndo kuna poor and rich. It has been there since the Bible, since wakati wa Yesu. So tukubaliane tu kwanza hiyo dunia inawaki hivyo. So
Yeah, that's how the world runs. It's not like we are going to start becoming. Look, how many economies have we seen that are trying to put in the socialism, what is
Communism.
it called? Communism. And it doesn't really work to their favor. They even slow down economic process and productivity.
Exactly, because
It
I feel
slows
like
down that process.
most people actually who complain about communism are not really caring for the poor, but they're against the rich.
Exactly.
It's never always
Exactly.
a battle for the guy who's at the bottom. It's always umbona kuna gari tatu na
Exactly.
misina.
And most of the time
So-
it's even personal.
Exactly.
It's not. He
So-
doesn't have factual reasons.
That is one thing that would make me be a capitalist more than a communist. And the second one is I believe anyone who believes in communism has not studied the impacts of communism. Because if you look at the impacts of communism relative to how capitalism works, they're very different.
compare the
If you
two.
compare the two. First of all, capitalism is built in the aspect of free markets. So it's about competition.
Yes.
A communistic
best
system,
win.
private property is owned by the government. It's controlled by the states. So some things, if you think about them, and you get corrupt individuals
Russia
running
is-
Russia was one of the biggest communist societies during the Stalin era. Remember?
Okay,
During the Joseph Stalin era.
Okay.
And they had one of the worst periods economically.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
So if you look at the impacts of communism relative to capitalism,
Yeah.
I don't think really you can compare the two.
Mhm.
Because the introduction of capitalism, the father of capitalism was obviously Adam Smith.
True.
And Adam Smith was interested in finding out how we can grow economies, how we can make people better people, exactly. How we can grow productivity, how we can raise the standards of living. I think those are the main questions of capitalism. But like you said, something comes with its disadvantages. Nothing comes out fully well. You get? Because if you look at like China was a communistic country for a very long time. But they've recently made progress after moving from communism to capitalism. Recently in China, there were no billionaires, there were no millionaires.
Yeah.
Those things
Currently
were
now China is termed as.
a capitalistic society, but with some communistic elements.
Okay.
You get?
Yeah.
So their government is still very authoritarian. They've still not really mastered the art of democracy.
Yeah.
They still have
Ownership
some
of land is
loopholes.
on. They started coming now. People can do all those stuff.
Exactly. Now we have people like Jack Ma, they're billionaires. We have people like Aponima, Tencent. Those people are billionaires. Because if you look at capitalism, the whole idea of capitalism is as I'm trying to progress myself, by nature, I will make you progress.
True. And the economy and the people around me.
And the people around me, you get? So as I'm trying, if you look at someone like Jeff Bezos, as he was building Amazon, he's built several millionaires, he's built several jobs, he's improved the living standards of very many Americans,
Increase the GDP.
increased the GDP,
A lot of things.
a lot of positive things. So let's focus on the fact that Bezos akona 200 billion,
200 billion.
na kuna msee ana food. Let's also look at some of the jobs he's created. You get? So for that, I'm more of a capitalistic person than a communist. I also have friends who believe in communism, and we sit down and chat with them about
Discuss.
the impacts and.
Yeah.
But there's the middle of capitalism and socialism. There's the middle, which is capitalism and communism. Capitalism is extreme right. Communism is extreme left. Socialism is in the middle. So you can be in the middle where you believe, okay, some elements of capitalism can be changed. For example, we can tax the rich more. than the poor. We can tax corporations more. We can make it difficult for people to move their properties to other places. Such things, yes, can change some elements of capitalism and make them better, help the person who's at the bottom. But the same person who's telling you you're benefiting from a crisis is the same person who'll want to make money when things are booming. True or false?
True.
Exactly. So the world is just built like, at least not fighting how things are. I think the way things are is just the way things are. You have to come to terms with reality. And you now have to do what Lawi said. Like, you have to think about how will I position myself.
And if you look at something that's very important, just looking at trends and how they go. After COVID, so many millionaires that were made.
Yeah.
After wars, there are a lot of people
who'll make money.
Exactly. So I was looking at the Russian oligarchs. So for those who do not know what oligarchs are, I looked at the meaning. Oligarchs basically are, especially in Russia, let me just read that meaning. The meaning of it.
Corrupt individuals.
Okay, according to, they didn't go corrupt. They just said, especially in Russia, a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence.
Okay. Because most people are claiming that these people are basically corrupt. That's why they're super rich.
More or less.
Actually, I think me how I understood oligarchs is people who benefited so much from governments failing.
Exactly.
And unaua serikali.
From? Benefiting from?
Governments failing. Like the South Sudan guy.
Okay, government's failing. Okay.
Like you kill your country, but you are banking so much on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I looked through. So Russian oligarchs are basically the tycoons of Russia.
Political tycoons.
The big people. And I saw that many of them, like now with the trends I was saying, most of these people now benefited, especially after the wars. The war, and especially when the Soviet was dissolved. Now, when Russia has become a state on its own, I think if I looked well, I think it was in the 90s.
1991.
91, yeah?
Yeah. That is when they became now the Republic of Russia.
Exactly. Now I looked, now these oligarchs, most of them started now becoming very, very rich. So with what I'm saying now, with the sanctions that are being put on them, like the one we're looking at, the Abramovich, the one who's selling Chelsea, a lot of pressures on him. Because the sanctions, like you're talking about, the sanctions are really putting pressure, especially on the influential, these political influence people. Leave Putin himself, because Putin himself will make your sanctions. Yeah, like I don't know what sanctions does he really have himself. I know the ones for the country, like the SWIFT and all those, could block you a few things in terms of imports and exports. What does Putin have? Do you know?
I think he can't move to other countries.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, so that is one of them. He can't access also his personal funds, which are in other countries.
I've seen that one, like in Switzerland.
In Switzerland and all these other places. So pia huko amesanctioniwa.
And now these oligarchs are being done for the same.
Exactly.
They're being refused from flying into certain areas. They're freezing their money. So like what we were saying, we were joking yesterday, then you were laughing, Ken, in the office. This guy has millions of billions.
But billionaire, lakini hauna do.
The oligarchs.
The oligarchs. You know you're a billionaire, but you don't have money and you don't know how you lucky. But you know you're a billionaire, but hauna access to funds.
That's why the Chelsea guy is trying to sell it as fast as possible before.
And I'm saying he's also saying he's been putting about almost 2 billion into it, which he was putting it as a loan, but now he doesn't want it back.
Yeah.
And the one that I was laughing especially was the sanction I stole from Pakistan. You saw?
No.
Pakistan wamesema sanction. Already sanction ya nini?
Rice.
Defaulting on the loan.
Halai.
Russia. They're like, hey, we owe these people about 1.something billion. I had to leave. That sanction was fine. Ilikuwa nashanga, hey, this country wametake advantage vizuri. But anyway, my point was to look at that trend. So my point now, I'm trying to think I don't know how long the war will be. I don't know how this aftermath is going to be. But how will these Russian oligarchs benefit from this? I'm sure most of them will go back to being rich. They're still rich. It's just that they've been frozen. But I'm trying to think, how will these guys survive this period?
It's for them. It'll be a hard time for them.
It'll be hard because, like this guy was telling me, we were discussing with. He was here. The first guest we had. What was his name? John Mwalandi. He was telling me in the office, these Russian tycoons, most of them are like, so to him, most of these Russian tycoons are bad people. So already, if this guy doesn't have money, people are loyal to them because of the money they have. The fact that these guys don't have money, Kwanzaa, it's very easy to see now internal, yes, exactly, those fights, internal overthrowing, those things. Because this guy can't pay you, he can't continue sustaining, you can't promise this guy money and he can't live. It's already tight in Russia, the sanctions they have, so already you can't survive, it's tough. So you're saying these oligarchs are going to have a very, very, very hard time.
Yeah, true.
Very hard time. And that's why I was seeing here a lot
Also,
of their...
most of these oligarchs also own most of these big companies in Russia. You should remember that.
Of course.
The companies which are down 50% now.
Yeah.
See, so like
Because combined, I've seen they've lost about is it almost $150 billion?
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
The oligarchs only.
Yeah, the oligarchs. And it just doubled the other day.
And
like, yeah,
I
continue.
was reading somewhere, like, do you know how much Putin is estimated to be worth?
If I remember the last I saw really last 2 years, about 200.
200.
Yeah.
There is $700 billion worth. But his statement, he says he's worth $1 million. $1 million. He owns a house, a horse, and a ranch.
That's it.
Yeah. So me, that's all I have.
But according to...
What are they estimating it on? You're 700 billion. What does he own?
I think most of it is private companies. Most of these big companies in Russia are still private. They're not
privately owned.
They're privately owned. So I think he's owning most of it under
other people's names.
Other people's name, and Magic clean so much. He's
serious?
so clean on his.
So that's why they're going after these oligarchs. They know if they get these oligarchs, they've gotten Putin.
Exactly.
Because those are the people who store money for him.
Like he literally doesn't have
He doesn't
money
have
in his bank.
big money on him. But he has people now who have money for him.
And if this sanction is on him right now during the war, especially like those for money, how is it really affecting him? He doesn't need the money right now.
Why?
But
He needs the money most right now.
But if
Can't the government help
he's
him?
using state funds, of course.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
He's using him himself.
He's using state
him
funds.
himself.
But those test funds are getting depleted. That's the point. I think the sanctions will only work if this thing gets prolonged.
Exactly.
You get? Because yes,
And
you have
how-
reserves of $700 billion. But how much are you spending on a daily basis?
Hundreds of millions. People are
Exactly.
spending a lot.
You're spending a
And-
lot.
And there's a point. It's gone. There's an interesting point I was going to ask. No, yeah. How is Russia financing this war?
See, they have reserves. They had planned themselves, bana.
Just that.
Hey,
Russia is a wealthy nation.
it's a wealthy nation, bana. Kuna reserves.
You can't be a
huko.
superpower.
Umonile, you've seen the convoy. The 40 mile convoy.
Kwani Russia imesota?
No, Russia.
Bro, you know,
Well, kwani
if you just
sahi
estimate,
tukienda
if you just
war,
estimate.
US watatupiga kwa nini? Besides military
Okay, wait. If we just estimate 40 miles is about
64 kilometers.
let's say
Here to
70.
Naivasha.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How long is it here to? Naivasha is 70
about
kilometers.
70 kilometers. 80, yeah.
Bro, all those people, even to
15,000 troops.
Kidogo.
But was you know, also Russia has the but now they have difficulties because one of the things that they would do if they never had sanctions is they'd keep printing money.
Exactly. That's what I
Now
was
they
going to
have
ask.
sanctions. So as much as you print, you can't change it to another currency because they are
the
banned
ruble is
from
dead.
using euro, dollar, all these other currencies.
Yeah, I saw-
That's
I
why
saw.
people are
Yen.
speculating on Chinese yuan. And also you've seen most of the people move into cryptocurrencies. Because actually Powell was asked yesterday, okay, these people are now using cryptocurrencies. How can you sanction them there? He said, yes, they'll use cryptos. We don't have much power there. But still there's the limitation of how many cryptos can they buy and how will they
And this-
liquidate them.
This is it's an important era for cryptos.
Yeah.
Because cryptos have never experienced war.
Exactly. So cryptos actually,
So
this
it's
is...
a very important time to watch
That's why it's called the
cryptos.
changing world
Order.
order. So things are changing very fast.
And you
Like
need to
right
pay
now, people
attention.
now understand, okay, now this is the value of cryptocurrency. At least no country can come and say currency yenyu imekufa.
Then they can't sanction it.
They can't sanction it.
Yeah.
How will you sanction Bitcoin?
Yeah, because the only thing I'm seeing, because I was seeing they're having the difficulties they might have with as much as Bitcoin is also decentralized and all that. Remember, you have to do it through exchanges. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing some exchanges have really banned.
They're already
Trash and-
sanctioning them.
Exactly.
And most exchanges, again, are not in Russia.
Yeah, true.
You get?
True. Because I saw the only 2 big ones that are in Russia. Just
And
2.
that's where now the
That's-
US has power. Because the US has power to most of these technologies. Like cryptos, most of them are built from the US. If you look at
But as you continue, continue.
internet companies also, they're built from the US. I was just, you remember the way we were joking? If the US decides today, okay, mnafanya hii mchezo, wacha tufungie dunia sasa. Waban YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google, HP watuambia mtumii Microsoft, mtumii MacBooks, iOS. My friend, we are doomed.
Because already Apple has stopped
Apple Pay.
Their operations
The operations in Russia. So if you think about it, that's what is called being a superpower. Like, you have so much influence on people.
You have superpower.
You're a superpower. Like, if those people decide, imagine just they close those businesses. How many people, first of all, are just out of business, including us? We're out of business immediately. Like, you can't meet clients now online. You can't talk to
Zoom
them.
is down.
The Zoom is down. All these things,
And
most of them are
one
built
of the
from
most
US.
important, internet is down.
Internet, exactly.
So you can't even go online.
Exactly. Starlink.
Like, see, Russia tried putting what? Russia, see, they put Ukraine's internet down.
Yeah, but Elon Musk helped them.
Yeah.
So
Elon Musk, the savior.
so he
In the
said
modern day Superman.
exactly. So I think for me,
It's true. True.
what is really coming out is that, one, some countries have very, very huge influence on others. 2 is wars are very unpredictable. And I think I want to just see how this thing.
You see what you're saying with predictable? That's what I've been telling you boys. Prepare for the worst, pray for the best.
That's true.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
It can be a war really serious.
Really serious.
And that's what we were saying.
And it can escalate very fast.
The other started thinking Hitler. He just started attacking the people near them.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, it's a whole world war.
World war.
Kidogo Japan wametupa Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor wamerudisha Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yep.
And we have a grandfather went to fight in Burma, bro.
Ongo.
I swear. Hey,
At first too, fight?
fight in Burma.
Ongo.
Can't you know your stories? Trust me. In the 1930s, hapo hivi. Bro, they went to fight
Your
in Burma.
grandfather? And came back?
Alirudi. Guess tutaenda, bro. Yeah, like
Anyway.
they were coming for soldiers even in Kenya.
So what is Putin's end game? This guy wants to kill Zelensky.
Okay, according to allegations, yeah, that's the plan. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
and according to allegations, like what you're saying, I think something that is important, you should also take care of, or rather, know what news to take in. There's a lot of things now escalating online. There's
Which
a lot
are
of stories.
false, yeah.
A lot of false stories. It's the same with the story we had about Zelensky had left the country.
And
Kumbe
he
the
was
guy
in the
never
country,
left.
yeah.
So I think it's also important to know your source of information.
So you need to kunywa information anywhere,
Eh,
especially
Joe,
right
you
now.
just
with the-
talk payaye, and you're talking a lot of nonsense. You're saying what?
especially now with the internet, where like anyone can just post and then it's trends and that's
Exactly.
it.
So
So you really need to be careful also what information you consume and how you make decisions. Another thing that I'd like us to talk about before we even go into another thing is how people react. Because I was thinking about it, like everyone is like,
Normal people.
why is the US not invading? Why is the US not helping? If you look at journalists, like I was looking at one journalist attacking Boris Johnson. Why are you guys not attacking Russia?
serious.
Why are you not going there? This is already World War III. You can see Ukrainians are dying, civilians are dying. And I think for me, with the little knowledge I have, I don't have much. I'm not an expert at some of these things. I'm just saying with the little knowledge I have, the opinion I have is, first of all, you need to be very, very strategic. As a leader, you cannot do what people, because most people, what they do is they react emotionally. So most people who are saying invade Russia, they don't even know the consequences of invading Russia. Them, they think if you invade Russia, now you have won the war. They don't know that could spark a bigger war. You get? Because if now the US and all these people now start invading, that means even Russia now will have to form some allies. They'll have to look for some people to help them. That leads to a big escalation. And things just go south. You get? Obviously, they could get there and they could also regret not invading earlier. So there are very many risks.
Yeah,
you just
a
don't.
lot.
You just don't make a decision. Let me react. But that came to me when I was thinking about even how traders react to markets. I mean, I trade, I lose, and then all of a sudden it's personal. Sasa nime lose. Hii market itanjua. You now start looking for another trade. You just want to, like, you're reacting emotionally to things. You're not even thinking. You're not. Your strategy kwanza, you put it aside. And that is one of the worst strategies in war. In war, if you look at some of the best books on war, 33 strategies of war, Sun
The Art of
Tzu,
War.
Von Clausewitz, some of these people who've written literature on war. Never lose your mind. Always stay rational. And I think to stay rational under the pressure of people is one of the hardest things to do. Because people are coming to you with all these emotions. Why are you doing this? Why are you not using your power well? Why are you not? You get? So there's a lot that is coming, a lot of attacks which could make you also lose your rationality. And you still have to stay rational and make the right decision. That's not a very, very easy task. And also that's one thing that was interesting to me while I was just watching how people are reacting, especially on social media and on all these other platforms. So it's quite interesting.
Squawk box.
Yep. So another thing I'd like us to talk about now, the trade wars. So in 2018, I remember when I started trading in 2018, because of that, they benefited from the start of the trade war. So Trump came into power in 2016. In 2018, he started one of the biggest trade wars with China. And he started now placing tariffs. I think after Biden came in, the trade war is still there. The tariffs are still there. But Biden is not like Trump. He doesn't impose tariffs via Twitter. Because Trump will just tweet, I've imposed tariffs on 300 billion worth of goods. And the markets will just go wild. Like I remember there was one time I had a gold position. It was on a Friday. I was just going about my activities. Then on Twitter, I think around 4:30, Trump tweets that he's imposed tariffs on $300 billion of Chinese exports. I'm telling you, on that day, gold rallied from about 18-something, boom, all the way to 1875. Made some good money, came out of that. But that taught me a lot. So trade wars are also some of the things which we should talk about, because trade wars are part of the geopolitical wars which go on, because there are trade wars, there are military wars, there are cyber attacks, like the Russian attacks, which they try to attack your country. So there are very many types of wars. It's not just military. You just don't fight militarily. So like trade war, the trade war between China.
COVID, guys were saying it was biological war.
Exactly, chemical war, something of the sort. So like the attack that the trade war between China and US. So it's still going on. It's still not over. And the idea is the Chinese are really benefiting from the American markets, while the Americans are not really benefiting from the Chinese markets. So Americans are really trying to regain that superpower status.
Make America great.
That was
Exactly.
the dream of Trump.
Actually, yeah.
You guys, stop being. You guys have land in Texas.
Build your own
Build those
factories.
manufacturing companies.
Exactly.
That was the idea.
So that was and right now even Biden is pushing for the same, because like I was listening to his speech, and by the way, politics is quite interesting, especially in relation to markets. I was listening to his speech the other day, and he was talking about how a drug like insulin, which is used for diabetes, is sold for like $30 across the world, but the US they sell it for $300. Yes.
Why?
It's a good question. Why? And it's because manufacturing is outsourced from another place. So when they're taking it to the American market, they'll sell it at the American prices. They won't sell it to them at the normal prices. And so for them to cut some of those prices down, to bring them down, they want to build their own factories, like he's saying. So they want to establish, like Elon Musk is already establishing his own factory in Texas. Most companies, like even Nike, are thinking of moving their production from...
finished it. I think he finished it. Even.
Exactly, something. I'm not sure.
Moved down to Texas. Yeah, and he can't
He's-
move if
he's
his
already in production,
operations
yeah.
are not there. Yeah.
So
And
those are
it's
some
because of the state giving lower tax.
lower taxes.
Yeah.
So those are some of the impacts which come with a trade war. But a trade war is not necessarily also very, very good, because one, it lowers economic activity. So as much as, when you start fighting, yes, you had specialized in manufacturing, we had specialized on this other thing. Once we start fighting, first of all of us have lost focus. And one of the elements of capitalism is specialization. Wewe umespecialize huku, mimi nimespecialize huku, tushikane to have jenge nchi. But you can imagine now, me, you, Lavi, we start now crossing paths when you're doing this, me, I'm doing this. So we find ourselves even working on the same projects and doing the same things. Obviously, progress gets slowed down. So the trade war now between China
Russia.
and US. And US. Yeah. China and US. Not
the previous one.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Yeah,
It's still going on because people expected Biden will come in and remove the tariffs, but he never did that.
Oh, he didn't.
He just left them. I've not seen any tariffs removed.
Yeah.
From China and the US.
Mm-hmm.
And the impact of that on markets is also very, very tight because you can see inflation skyrocketing because of supply constraints.
Mm-hmm.
So
Supply
it's hard.
chain.
Yeah, supply chain. Getting products to some place becomes
become a
very, very
hassle.
expensive. Yeah. So
I think that's basically like the main effects of trade was basically trade most times it's physical trade, like commodity trading, like shippings, airlines and stuff. Which countries produces which good, and which country is the best exporter of this, which countries imports this. And if you look at markets which have suffered the most, first of all, it's the oil market. Oil is becoming almost twice the price it was back in October, November.
yeah.
So if you look at, let's say, cost of production, if let's say you are a company that uses heavily oil, your cost of production basically doubles in 4 months.
Wow.
So the challenge with trade was now is now it makes
That's tough.
like growth and globalization slow. Because one, standards of living, not standards of living, cost of livings increase so much due to inflation. During wars, of course, there is no productivity in terms of employment. You see, like almost everyone right now in Ukraine is unemployed.
And Russia.
And Russia, unemployed, you see.
But what's happening in Russia economically? There's no activity even inside. Because Ukraine, I know there's no.
In Russia because they don't want to be taken into the military. So they
Serious?
So where are they going?
They are running away.
Wazana hepa
Where they
hizo
going?
ma countries zingine ndogo ndogo hapo chini nini.
Si uko sasa ndo utapigwa. Mimi siwezi hata huko.
So like I was looking at like something like the prices of wheat. Wheat in terms of Ukraine and Russia are the biggest producers of wheat
In the world.
Yes, in the world, like the biggest exporters of wheat, and that is one market which has been speculated to become very, very expensive in the near future.
Have you seen the chart?
Yes, I've seen the wheat iko palm oil hot.
Palm oil is from
I think wheat today is up, I think almost 8%. If you look at those markets, like
just wheat. I just search wheat.
just such wheat.
Global prime. Good.
20% this month. Last month. In 2 days, bro.
Exactly.
Second.
Today's third.
Yeah.
But you know also part of the reason these prices are rising higher is what Soros calls the reflexivity of the market. Rising inflation results in rising price of goods, while rising price of goods will in turn result to rising inflation. So you get that relationship. It's very hard to know which factor to pull, because if you pull one, it pulls the other one.
Back in August, I think 2020 it was
500.
Right now it's at $1,000, 100. So everything is skyrocketing in prices, and that is what I think will now affect. Because guys have been saying, okay, you want it to affect. I think now the trade wars will directly affect global markets, like not global markets and even households globally. You will feel the pain, Caleb. I will feel the pain. You will be fueling at the petrol station looking at fuel is 150.
Yes, you ask me, bana. Me, because I remember in January last year when I used to fuel, 1,000 bob would get me 11 liters. So right now, 1,000 bob only gets me 7 liters.
Hey,
Exactly.
down 40%.
40.
So imagine
The time like ni
cost of
ilikuwa
petrol.
mbao, sahi ni 115.
Exactly. So
It's
like
not
cost of
easy.
living is going to become very, very expensive, and we are all gonna feel that hit. Usidhani tu sasa ati wewe utakuwa na watch, because we were talking with a friend of mine yesterday. Sasa unajua hii work ikikuwa sisi tutakuwa tuna watch car movie.
All saying that. Hey, that's silly, man. That's
like one
know,
says, bro,
But
it
for some
happened.
time, we'll watch it like a movie.
bro.
like right now we're watching it, but
Even
if
for
it
some
becomes a
time.
serious war.
Even when it
But what
becomes
will you do?
serious.
Oh, you'll go and fight.
You won't. Afrika pia tunakataa kwanza, tunaambia si hata form zenyu hatudai kwanza. Africans kwanza tunakataa.
He was saying if it escalates, his savings are stock food. Anakatuke jani. At you can be walking outside here, they say like this guy is 6 foot and looking. Exactly. So for me, I think the trade wars will really affect lives of almost everyone in the world.
Exactly.
Because if you look at oil, hiyo ni imetoka tu from Russia. Russia itself, they like blocking. If let's say the war was continuing, but they are telling them, okay, you can still supply your oil to the world. Oil maybe ingekwasa maybe size ndio inaingia hapo na.
And by the way, they have not sanctioned. Russia has not reiterated after the sanctions, right?
Yeah.
It's done nothing.
They're nothing.
Reiterated as in?
They have not put in any sanctions on Europe. Because if they decide today they're not selling to Europe oil, kwani oil itafika ngapi?
Yeah, but they need it. They need these people to still pay for those things.
And how are they paying them and they can't use the other currencies?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask.
How are they paying for this oil, for this gas which they're exporting to Europe? How are the Europeans paying the Russians?
Are they taking oil right now from Russia?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
They are taking.
I don't think so.
They're taking. Nord Stream.
Nord Stream
too. Nord Stream 2 down from Russia to Germany.
They have not said they won't supply to anyone oil. They're still supplying, right?
I've not heard anything like that.
Russia has not reiterated.
Nothing will push oil prices. Ikifungwa.
140,
Uko.
150.
Previous highs, boom.
150.
Exactly. And you know, the highest price for oil is 140.
So $200 a barrel is not bad.
$200 is something
very possible.
Very, very
possible.
Highs, so. and exactly, I'm saying that because cost of living is increasing, but wages
still the same.
And that's the point I was going to get into. Inflation iko high, oil is getting expensive, living standards is going to increase. Of course, it will affect prices of things, but wages
stable,
constant,
maybe even going down. But in the States is going high. In the States is going higher. But
worldwide,
of course, most countries wages are destabilizing.
Exactly. If you earn 100,000, let's say in Kenya, you pay. Consider with your example, Ken, for oil. Oil now your monthly fuel used to be, let's say, like 10 Gs. Right now it goes 15.
Like 14, 15.
Yeah, let's say 15. It's up already. Now, bado nalipo 100. Rent was 30 Gs. It's up. Slowly it catch up. Tafika 35, 40. Up. What else? Goods. Everything else is going up. But your wages.
Food.
Unga.
Kwanza oil. Not oil, cooking oil. Any ingine pia. Cooking oil inakuja kwa expensive sana. Very, very expensive.
And now let's move away from like the wars and the geopolitical tensions. Let's go back to markets, because markets are very, very fun. First of all, there's the volatility index. A spike in volatility, once you've seen the wars, like there's a very, very high chance. Volatility, like right now, in normal occasions, volatility is between 12 and 15, 18.
On the VIX. During wars, crises, we jump to extreme volatilities of even 80. But currently, we are at 30.
We've not seen the COVID volatility.
The COVID volatility. COVID panic. 80.
85.
I don't know, serious. But also, there's the playbook. What do you trade? How do you position yourself? How do investors position themselves? Remember, like there was this Sunday when... Was it the Sunday when they had just invaded? Was it last week?
Oh, that's what happened.
When I called you and told you for this week, the playbook is long gold, short oil.
You called me on Sunday.
It was
the
on
start
Sunday?
of this week.
The start of this? No, it was not this week.
You called me when the word already started. It wasn't last week Sunday. It was this week.
No, it was trades for last week. It was last week, bro. I remember well.
Why were you short on oil when you were saying the war is
No, not short oil. I said long oil, long gold, short stocks, long dollar. That was the playbook.
That was the playbook, of
You
course.
get up to now, markets are still respecting that playbook because I've been tracking it. You get so if you are long gold, if you this is not investment advice, by the way. If you decide to follow it,
That's past data.
that's past data. 2, I've not given you entries, I've not given you exits, I've not told you how much to risk. So there are very many things which, as much as you know the direction, will hinder you from making any money. But anyway, let's keep talking about it. Like, so for me, it's still interesting that a market like gold, silver, I've not seen this market spike as high as they should be trading. I think gold is one of the commodities which is still lagging relative to other commodities.
For that point, I think
Rate hikes.
no, not even rate hikes. The war is just a week into. We are just a week into the war.
So you can see gold really.
If the effects are to be long term, don't you want to expect gold to double in 1 week?
No, not doubling, but the volatility. Like if you look at a market like oil, Oil has moved from about 95 this week to trade as high as $115 a barrel.
92.
True.
92 actually was the price.
When we
It
started the
opened
week.
at 92 actually, yeah. And now we're at $115 a barrel.
Exactly.
Corn imejumpio 20% yenye unatuambia.
Wheat is up in 20% in 2 days.
Anyway, I'm still long gold. I'm looking for those trades, just like Claudia
But
said.
it's just the way you keep
Be
saying
patient.
timing. Yeah, timing.
Because
be
timing the
patient.
markets, you
It's
have
long
to
term.
be very, very...
And gold volatility when it comes.
It comes with a bang.
It
Because right
comes.
now, I think the only safe option if you have any currency is to hold gold. Because gold is God's money.
But then how is silver performing?
Silver is also, it came out, but it never really went higher.
Gold is God's money.
Gold is God's money. Right now if you're in Russia na wamesema tumebani ruble, kama ulikuwa na gold sahi bado uko sawa. Nikienda US naweza tumia gold, nikienda anywhere naweza tumia gold. So gold has always proved the test of time. Bitcoin is trying to replace
So if
it,
gold is
and it's
God's
really
money-
really working by the way if you think about it.
If gold is God's money, Bitcoin is man's money.
Maybe. But also Bitcoin it's quite interesting because if you think about it, during this war people have turned more into Bitcoin even rather than gold. So Bitcoin could really come up to be the digital gold that people have always been talking
Because
about.
of those benefits, liquidity.
Liquidity.
Remember when people are buying gold, they need to find a place to store it. You don't need to do that with Bitcoin.
If you think about it, you should hold Bitcoin for long term.
Yeah, long-term Bitcoin
You
is
should hold
very...
it for very, very long. I think
very
there's a very
valuable.
big trade there.
Mm,
Especially if the technology is not hacked, right?
which has not been hacked for years, forever.
And also governments ban it, because also governments could ban it.
Yeah, that's the biggest risk for cryptos and that
Cryptos.
market.
But changing world order, you have to be smart about it. The new world order, gold could be replaced by Bitcoin. Because I feel like Bitcoin has actually been more volatile than gold.
I think it always has been.
Okay, it always has been, but some climates, some conditions have always called for. Because gold has sat in a consolidation ever since when? 2020 August was when you had a top. Then it came into a consolidation for the whole of last year.
Almost 2 years.
Between 1700 and 1900, it just sat there for the whole...
The triangle.
Exactly. And then we've just recently taken out that and we're now trading at 1928, coming from about as low as 1700. I think if the war goes on, gold 3000 is an accurate target. Like, I think if it goes on, if things escalate, 2500, 3000 is an accurate
Even if you
target.
just look at the levels, market COVID came, tapped 2000.
Exactly. Came back.
consolidated.
If now we're
trying
going to
come back into that level.
Yeah.
If we break that level, of course, the next target is 3.
2,500, 3,000, we could easily see those targets. So guys, as you're trading, I know that's what you're interested in. They're interested in just that. After hii podcast yote Kenya tapiki gold walisema itaenda 3,000. But anyway, if you think about it historically during wars, I think those are some of the markets you should be holding. Because even I was thinking about a country like Russia or other countries, how they defend themselves right now. If you want to like protect yourself, for example, if you're the Federal Reserve, if you're the Bank of England, if you're the People's Bank of China and you want to protect yourself from a war, because you know what will happen in this war is people now will start being selfish. Sasa hii unity itaisha. Ikianza kuwa serious, unity inaishanga bana. Sasa hapa umeanza kuwa our people or our economy is not doing well. So obviously, as much as people are very, very united right now, people are also taking their own chances and planning themselves, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to plan yourself as a central bank governor, right now is you hold not dollar reserves, you just hold gold reserves, because gold is actually going to be a better bet than holding a currency, because a currency can be manipulated by the government. But I think gold can't
You
be
can't
manipulated by the government.
Let's now print this gold.
Exactly, you can't do that. You
That's
get?
the disadvantage.
Exactly.
The advantage.
Yeah,
of gold.
so I'm sure if this thing goes on by the, let's say for another 1-2 years, like if it escalates to be a world war, like we're saying,
Prepare for the worst.
if it does that, okay, but you're hoping for the best actually. But if it does that, I'm sure we'll see so many Akina Jim Rogers, Mike Maloney, those people who've been holding gold for long, those people will make a lot of money. A lot of money.
Even
Gold.
JP Morgan or gold. Remember that time when gold was really rallying? They had a target of 3,000. Which bank was that? I think
And
it was
actually
Goldman.
in Kenya, I've seen
JP Morgan.
the gold ETF in Kenya has also skyrocketed over the last few weeks.
Uh-huh.
So there've also been an influx of buying by Kenyan people into the gold market. There's a gold ETF that trades on the Kenyan market, and over the last few weeks, it's seen one of the huge spikes in volume. People have been buying gold. They're betting that this thing will keep on.
check it out.
Yeah, because even Russia right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
their best bet is to hold gold.
Yeah, they're tops.
Which they have.
Gold.
Gold reserves, they're very, very strong on that. So I think that's the playbook, guys. We can stop there. We've shared a bit about what we know about the war, about the Russia. Do more research. Like, there's a lot that you can learn. There's a lot that will happen. There's a lot that will happen and will make us change our minds, and we maybe won't tell you. So don't follow this as investment advice. Again, like we're saying, instead you can come to us and we'll teach you how to think about markets, what you should pay attention to. We have courses for anyone who's interested in learning about the financial markets, especially the forex market is our area of specialization. But the knowledge we'll share with you on the forex market will obviously be applicable when you're trading any financial market. I think among the three of us, if you ask us a question about financial markets, as much as we may be wrong on the short term, I don't think we'll be that wrong, and I don't think we'll advise you to do something that is not really wise, at least. Because we've invested so much time in understanding the markets. Besides that, I don't think I have anything else to say other than to say we'll see you guys next time. That's it from me.
Peace.